Okay. Hi. Hope people can hear me here. My name is Jeremy Fowers. I'm a machine learning engineer at AMD and one of the lead maintainers of the Lemonade project. And I'm joined here today by my friend Krishna.
Hi everyone, it's Krishna here. I'm an ML software engineer here at AMD as well, a maintainer of Lemonade, focusing on open source ecosystems and integrations with our partners.
Thanks. Yeah. So Krishna and I and a lot of other people are building Lemonade because we really want for there to be a completely free, completely open source option for people to use on their AMD PCs if they want to do AI inference, and particularly if they want to connect that to a lot of other apps or even build it into their own apps. And for them to be able to get like really first-class AMD support, all the optimizations, the latest builds of ROCm, the latest support for the neural processing unit, everything. And then we've just completely put this on GitHub with an open source license. It's all developed in the open. It's also completely private, like it never phones home, never does any telemetry or anything like that. And it's got a native installer, so you can get kind of one-click installation, and it's ready to go in just a few minutes on any PC, even PCs that aren't AMD PCs. So, yeah, what exactly is Lemonade? It's an local generative AI server. So what that means is that you can do text generation, image generation, speech generation. It can also look at images. It can do transcriptions or like live dictation of speech. And it brings all of this together with a server model, so that means that you can make an HTTP connection to it over the OpenAI API, the Anthropic Messages API, or the Ollama API. And this allows a large amount of existing apps to talk to it and also makes it super easy to build new apps. I think what people like best about it is that it's gonna sort of automatically set itself up to give great inference performance on any AMD PC. So as an app developer, you don't really have to worry about like, hey, am I targeting a Radeon GPU or a Ryzen AI CPU? Am I worrying about different features on Windows or Linux? All of this is taken care of for you at the Lemonade level. And then you can just focus on coding your app against standard APIs like the OpenAI API. So real quick, like if you happen to be on Windows, you can just pop in and download an MSI installer that just takes a couple of minutes. If you're on Linux, we've got a whole bunch of options. So we're maintaining the Ubuntu. We've got a deb installer. We also have the community maintaining snap installation. Community is also maintaining Arc and Fedora support and Debian. And there's even like community maintain Mac OS support, so that if you like happen to have a Mac that you like doing some coding on and then you want to deploy to AMD PCs, that's available for you too. And then once you're kind of installed, we can run inference for you on your CPU, your GPU, or your NPU. So what that looks like is we're built on a whole bunch of inference engines. So these are a lot of the most popular inference engines that you might take and try to use on your AMD PC when you're just getting started. And what we're doing is pulling them all into one really convenient place through our single installer and helping you install all these different things in the background. So you've got Llama CBP, which obviously is super famous, Stable Diffusion CPP. And then you've also got some more AMD specific offerings like the Ryzen AI software stack, AMD ROCm, and the FastFlow LM stack for also running on the NPU. And so all this gets kind of integrated together, and you'll see how that works very soon when I get over to a demo. And then the idea is that this is mainly meant to work with apps. Like you can take Lemonade and use it by itself, but the whole point is that there's a whole lot of great apps out there that know how to talk over this OpenAI standard. or the Olama standard, and you're able to just connect Lemonade up to that very easily. So here's like 10 of our favorite apps, but there's a whole marketplace that I'll show you more of later. And for most of these, we've got like either automatic configuration with Lemonade or some really easy to follow guides so that you can do things like set up like your own local chat GPT for your whole home with Open Web UI. You can start building agentic workflows with N8N using your real data. You can build your own agents with Gaia. You can like generate video games with Infinity Arcade and so on. There's a lot of fun and interesting things you can do with this. So just like quick few technical specs before I jump into it. So first off, this is like all coded in native C++. So if you take like the absolute minimum installer, it's under 10 megabytes. It installs really fast. And then it auto configures for your hardware. So this like very minimal installer that you get scans your hardware and it figures out like, hey, we should be running Llama CPP with ROCm on this computer and the NPU on this other computer, and goes from there so that you end up with what's optimal for your system. And then there's all these APIs available once it's installed. And so this is the technical bit, what the developers and the apps will actually be talking to, right? So chat completions is kind of one of the most famous APIs available. This is how you do like LLM messages back and forth with a lot of chat apps. And then you can also put, image input, image output, speech input, and speech output. There's kind of an API for everything that is standardized and apps use to talk about it. So that's all the kind of slideware I'm going to do, and then we can kind of hop into the Lemonade app here. So this comes with your Lemonade installs that you do. What I'm showing you right now is a web app. You can also get this as a desktop app if you so choose. They work exactly the same. It's just different things for different people. And this isn't meant to be like kind of the full-fledged app that you're going to spend tons and tons of time in. We think about this like a control center for your local AI. So over on the left here, you have your model manager. It shows like what models are currently loaded up. And then you have a list of available models. So we've curated like over 150 models that we think work well. And they're all like on this list here. And then you can also add and import your own models. So it's really flexible, and this just kind of gives you one place to see all the models and what's going on with them. And that's kind of the essence of the control panel. You also have a backend manager. So like if you've heard about, ROCm and Vulkan and you want to make sure and try one or the other, you can come in here, and I've got them all installed already because I do a lot of development on this computer, but typically there'd be like an install button where you can very easily get and track all the different tools that you're going to use. And these even like link out so you can see the exact, release and version of Llama CPP that you're trying to use. It's all kind of laid out there for you so that you know exactly what's going on as a developer. What you have on the right-hand side here is essentially a test drive interface for models, right? So I went ahead and I preloaded Qwen 3.5 35 billion mixture of experts model. So this is like one of the latest hot new models. I also preloaded Z Image Turbo, which is one of the hottest local image generation models right now. And the idea of the test drive interface is that you can use this to like, okay, I just downloaded a model. I want to see what it does if I send it a few prompts. I want to send it some images. I want to compare to different models, maybe take a quick look at performance. We've got our little performance bar at the bottom here, right? And so this is how you kind of kick the tires and get a feel for what each of the models can do. And then from there, we hope that you're going to start like connecting to other apps or building your own app on top of this. So like, it's actually like quite a deliberate choice. You can see there's no chat history here. The reason for that is because this is not a chat app. This control panel just lets you run any model you want, but it's not gonna try and give you like an experience that you're going to be daily driving. So I've got this Quen model loaded up, so you can, just ask it things like write hello world in Python and hit enter. And you can see like this is a super cool model. It's got this like kind of quasi-agentic thinking section that it does. And then it comes up with a final answer here. So it's obviously like print hello world for hello world in Python. But we got, 50 tokens per second. So this is like one of our most promising models right now for local coding, which is an area I'm excited about. And we've been developing things like integration with Claude Code and other coding harnesses to make that easier. This is a good model for it. Another thing I can show you is image generation. So Z-Image Turbo is a pretty fun model. I'll set the image size a little smaller so it goes a little faster, but this is going to run on my GPU, and we can say like two cats saying try lemonade today. And we'll see what that comes up. But that's going to take a minute to generate because this is a pretty big model, state-of-the-art image generation model. But it gives pretty good images out of it. So it's pretty fun to play with. And let me read some of the questions while it generates. Okay, so MIDI asked, I'm not sure what the SDK tries to be, more of a GUI endpoint for managing its resources, like LM Studio, or more of a CLI like Olama. Yeah, so what I would say is like you can build apps on top of Lemonade, LM Studio, or Olama. They've all kind of got their pros and cons. What I'll say also is like LM Studio and Olama are both great partners of AMD. Here's your image with the cats and the lemonade. This is like definitely a pretty fun model. So like if you're trying to make some choice between all these different things, you can kind of look through their pros and cons. But the reason we're making lemonade is if you just want to be sure you have the absolute latest and greatest for AMD optimizations and AMD device support specifically. And the reason we're open sourcing all of this is so that like other other products like LM Studio and Olama can see how we're exposing these like optimizations of our own first party hardware, and then they can also do the same optimization. So hopefully it's not like in the fullness of time, hopefully they kind of are all just extremely optimized. Definitely like LM Studio offers a great UI, and that's not something we're trying to do here. Right. So if you want LM Studio, I think you probably know who you are, and you're great. You're doing very well for yourself, like sticking with LM Studio. And this is really for like connecting up apps, right? Like if you want to use an app that's not LM Studio and you want AMD's like best set of optimizations for something like maybe Claude Code, then this could be a good choice, at least for now.
To add to that, there is also the multimodality aspect of it. We strongly believe that the other applications and agentic interfaces that are showing up will need multimodality, speech, audio, video, speech, audio, image, both input and output. And the platform here is meant to provide that capability for other apps to leverage. And yeah, that kind of touches on Forrest's question as well. Useful for troubleshooting is the model having issues or is it in my code? Yeah, this gives you a very plain interface to the model with very few layers of software in between. So you can directly just check where what the model is up to. What Jeremy is showing is the logs that comes with the app. So for every generation, this is the logs that's going on, the communication with the server. So you can see what's being printed in the logs. This can be useful for debug and see where the model is.
Yep. And there's also a question about like containerized setups. So if you go into the installation setup page, you can see there's a Docker image that we push with every Lemonade release. That should make it pretty easy to get it set up, containerized. And there's a whole bunch of people in the Discord community who do use it this way. So I've done a lot of the show and tell I was planning to do. There's a few more things though. So for one thing, we'll do speech synthesis. So you can load up a speech synthesis model, like we have Kokoro here. It's a really popular one. And I have no idea if this is going to work in this setup with the live presentation and everything. But what this is going to do, I don't know if anybody could hear that or not, but it synthesizes whatever you're sending into it into speech, and you can do that, integrate that into your app. And I find like apps become so much more engaging if they're producing some audio while you're using them. Like I've coded up some quick things like games that you can play with AI, and having like a AI announcer in the game who's like kind of narrating what's going on based on like analyzing the game state and whatnot, it just makes it feel so much more engaging. And so like Krishna was mentioning multimodality, like just being able to do speech synthesis really easily in the same setup that you're doing your images and your text is a big plus. And then for speech recognition, we've got whisper models as well. I'm definitely not going to try this while I'm on a live presentation, but basically you can load up a whisper model and then start talking to it, and that'll produce a transcription. And you can do that with like an audio file you're transcribing, or you can do real-time transcription for things like voice input into apps. Let's see. Got another question. Krishna, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Forrest's comment is great comment about multimodal hosting. That really is a big draw for me. Yeah. Rather than managing Llama CPP, Llama Swap, Whisper, embedding TTS, Lemonade basically gives me one place to go to manage it all. Yeah, that's that's the hypothesis as well. Perfectly stated. We want one place where you can one access point where the app developer does not need to worry about managing these servers, version control, accessing them through different interfaces. So this would be that one place you access it through standardized APIs like OpenAI API standards, and be able to leverage all of the different modalities at the same time also using your hardware to its fullest potential. Yep, that's a great statement.
All right, I'll give Krishna a chance to read some more questions while I do one more demo. So we can also talk about the neural processing unit. So like Quen 3.5 is a recent model that's pretty hot. So we can load up the 4 billion parameter version of this on the neural processing unit of the AMD computer I'm using right now. And this is a pretty cool model because it can take vision input as well. So you can like send it screenshots and say, what is this, right? And it's going to analyze the image and give a response. And we're thinking this is going to be a really powerful capability. Like this model in particular is good at tool calling, it's good in agents, it's good at analyzing images, it's small, it's fast. When it's running on the NPU, it's very low power as well. And so like you can run this on your computer without totally like spinning up your fans or draining your battery. And hopefully that presents the opportunity to have some agents that are like always on. You like just leave the model loaded in your memory and it can do useful stuff for you all the time without kind of like dragging down your system resources along with it.
We have one more question. Roboto Sai asks AMD Ryzen 5 5500U can handle Lemonade better than LM Studio. So the way we would like to look at it is Lemonade is optimized specifically for AMD platforms. In terms of the setup tuning, the way Llama CPP is used, the flags, they're optimized for AMD platforms. But that said, you could also use LM Studio and make those changes and make it suitable for your platform.
Got another question. So how does Lemonade handle VRAM allocation and concurrent text-speech test. Okay, so for VRAM allocation, we've got a safeguard in place by default, which is it's only going to let you load one model of each type. So like one speech generation model, one like LM for chat, one image gen model, and so on. One ASR model and so on. And if you try to load another one, it'll like kick the one of the same type out. Now you can unlock this, and a lot of cool applications I think are going to unlock this and load large amount of models. Like we had a demo that got pretty popular that had 8 LLMs loaded at the same time. Once you're doing that, the VRAM management uses a least recently used cache. So like if you've said like, hey, I want to allow 8 LLMs to be loaded, and then you try to load a 9th one, it'll kick out the kind of the one you've used 8th most recently, the least recently used one. In terms of concurrent text and speech, yeah, it's all totally supported. So in the back end of this, all of these models are running as parallel processes, and they can all serve requests simultaneously. So like you can do text generation and speech generation at the same time. Most of them also support streaming. So like you can do streaming text generation that you then hook into streaming speech generation, and that minimizes the latency, and that works quite well also. You want to take the next one, Christian?
Yeah. Minty asks, what do I need on the OS layer to get the most out of a Lemonade Docker image for AMD Ryzen AI Max plus 395? I assume you're talking about what the base OS layer is. We support both Ubuntu and Windows. Both of them should work, but other than that, are there any other specific settings we use outside the Docker, Jeremy?
You know what? I'll freely admit I'm not a Docker expert. There's a bunch of people who are on the Lemonade Discord. So I think like that's a great question to just come into the Discord. It's a really welcoming community. Could probably help you out there. The Docker image itself is also community maintained. All right, do a little more show and tell while we let some more questions collect up. So one of the things that's most important to me is the Lemonade Marketplace. So that's why it's got its own tab in the app here. And you can also find it on the website. There's a link up top for Marketplace. And what you're looking at here is a bunch of the partnerships that we've made and a bunch of apps that we've connected to. So I'll just show off a couple of quick ones. So Anything LLM, we've had a great experience working with them recently. And so if you click on the guide here, this is a guide that the Anything LLM team submitted into the Lemonade repository to make sure that everyone like knows the easiest way of working with this. And it's really easy to set up. You essentially just like have a LLM provider drop-down menu that you can pick Lemonade out of. And then you have this great front-end chat client that gives you the chat history and like agents with tools and everything else that you might want from a front-end app. Another one that's like caught my eye recently is Firefox. So this guide was submitted by a community member who's really awesome. And Firefox has this like AI chatbot sidebar that typically is only going to do like OpenAI or Claude, like some kind of cloud model. And what you can do is set this up to work with Lemonade so that now you have a local model living inside of your Firefox browser. And you can do things like select text and ask the LLM to explain it, or you can just ask the LLM to summarize the entire website that you're looking at. And what's great about this is that it keeps your data totally private and on your device, right? Like the web data is already in your local, your browser. with your data, and then that's going to a local LLM that has like no telemetry, 100% private, and then right back to the browser. And so it's actually not hitting the internet. And I think this is gonna be like a lot of people are going to use this in the future just because it's going to feel so much more private than reaching out to a cloud LLM, particularly for any like sensitive information that you might be researching.
Yeah, I've personally been a fan of this and used this when, specifically when I'm looking at bank statements, looking at documents that I don't want to send into the cloud. Uh, for those use cases, this has been, really useful.
All right, you want to start
Yeah.
taking some questions, Christian?
Yeah. So jumping back, Weldreen asks, does Lemonade have support for Intel CPU and Intel graphics cards? So we don't specifically support the most optimized backends for Intel CPU and graphics cards, but that said, we do use Llama CPP for the CPU, which supports all the x86 CPUs, which includes support for uh, Intel CPUs as well. And we also use the Vulkan backend on the GPUs, which would also work on Intel graphics cards. But that said, that's not something that we have tested or part of the CI. And Intel has their own backends that are optimized for their hardware as well. So you could get it working, but we've not really seen, we've not tested it or seen the performance on it.
Yeah, that's something we're sort of leaving to community direction. Like we do have users who are on Intel platforms on our Discord and like they chat and support each other, right? And I think that's awesome. I want local AI to be like free and available to everyone. And I think a rising tide is going to lift all ships here. So, if people want to come in and like have more conversation about that, that's totally welcome.
And Aliston, Math Scientist says, I'm making an NPU LLM provided via bare metal and MLIR that could be linked to Lemonade, and he compares it with some of the existing standards between Onyx and non-Onyx paths, similar to the FLM path. So he's asking for, since this could be more than useful for Lemonade, is it possible to receive some assistance in developing the last parts of this provider? Yeah, we're happy to discuss this. I think this is a longer topic to discuss than on a live stream. So yeah, we can pop back into Discord and have a conversation about this on how we want to move forward.
Yeah, it's super cool that you're doing that project though. Like I think choice is generally really good for people. And in particular the NPU, it's like brand new technology. Inference providers are going to have their set of supported models and like set of supported devices and everything. And if you're able to come in and like support models that people are asking for that aren't available anywhere else, or have like features or Llama CPP integration or anything like the kind of stuff people are asking for in this nascent space, I think it's super awesome if you're able to do that project. So definitely talk to us about it. All right. We've talked about a lot of things already. What else can I highlight here? So Infinity Arcade is one that's like kind of near and dear to my heart. So there's a reference design that I helped build up with a few other people who found it fun. And the idea here is that you're gonna vibe code like retro style arcade games using an LLM. And so you kind of come in here and you type in the text box like, hey, I want Pong. And the LLM is going to go off and code you a copy of Pong. And boom, playable game shows up within like 1 to 2 minutes, depending on your GPU and like what model it's using and everything. And then you can even go and ask it to remix the game. So like it's like, oh, I want, lasers to shoot out of the ball every time the puck hits it. And it can do that too. And it's pretty easy to set up. Like you can just download a little exe on Windows or it's pretty easy on Linux too. And then I think it's on the Snap Store, for example, for Linux. And then you can just like code games and remix games, and that's pretty fun. And I was also able to get it working like first on like kind of high-end hardware that could run coder models pretty fast, like the Qwen 3 Coder 30 billion. But then we did a whole bunch of fine-tuning work as well and created a 7 billion parameter model that we called Playable 1. And this could run on systems that had like 32 gigs of RAM and less and still give really good results. I'd love to see like a lot more fine-tuning work coming out that targets like local AI. I think it's completely possible to take like a very capable like 30 billion or higher model, prove a concept, and then fine-tune it down to like 7 to 2 billion parameters and get good results. So I really want to see people doing that.
Taking one more question in between. Puranan asks, any plans for future investment in supporting the AMD NPU in Llama CPP directly, now that Intel's NPU is supported through the OpenVINO backend? Yeah, the Llama CPP support for NPU is something that's been broadly discussed, and we've had internal discussions as well. I would say it's still under consideration. But that said, we do have two paths that are available, the Ryzen AI software stack and the FastFlow LM path. But I strongly recommend checking out both of them. The FastFlow LM path takes in custom GGOF models and has really good performance. And Ryzen AI software stack takes in the Onyx and Onyx runtime GenAI path. So we do have broad support for the ecosystem. But that said, yeah, Llama CPP is under consideration.
Yeah, I think we like completely understand the community would prefer, especially the open source community would prefer that it was integrated in Llama CPP. So like everyone's been heard loud and clear on that. It's just like with limited engineering resources, how many different, tools could we or should we support, or should we focus on like what models are available or the speed of the models and all kinds of things, right? So it's definitely under consideration. Okay, I think I'll do one more show and tell, and then we'll take any questions that have been entered, and maybe we'll call it there. So definitely, if you have questions, start typing them. So let's see what else is on here.
N8N.
Yeah, N8N is a very cool one. Okay, so if you're familiar with N8N, it's a workflow builder. And the idea is that you can take data sources like Reddit or web searches or like databases that you have, and you can put those as input into your workflow. And then you can like do manipulations on that data. And then after you're done with your manipulations, it can take actions for you. Like it can create Reddit posts or LinkedIn posts or, all these kind of things. It can drive a lot of other tools. It can make entries into databases for you. And something that people really like to do with N8N is to integrate AI into the middle of the workflow. And so that's why we've got Lemonade in here as like one of the official integrations in N8N. And this allows you to like, okay, you've got your Lemonade server installed. You can just like drop it right into your workflow and have it do things like, hey, I work at AMD in the AI space. I'm really interested if people are talking about like Strix Halo on Reddit. Please like look at the top 100 Reddit posts and just filter the ones where people are chatting about Strix Halo. And here's all the like nicknames people have for Strix Halo, right? So and then it like does a good job of this filtering, and it can like send me a message on Discord with like, hey, here's the Reddit post you should be paying attention to today. So this is a really cool, powerful integration. Okay.
Yeah, and specifically with workflow builders like N8N and the progress that we've seen in that space, like OpenClaw and more agentic harnesses. What has become more clear is LLMs and agents are not being run only when prompted. They're moving towards being run all the time, doing something in the background and prompting the user. And especially in those cases where tokens are constantly being generated almost all day, the local AI thesis becomes very important, and it becomes all the more useful for running such workflows that are fully private and fully under your control. And yeah, that's something that we're seeing happening, and we're really excited about as well.
Yep. I see one more question maybe getting typed, so I'll wait a sec for that. The other thing I'll mention is we release regularly, like usually once every week or two. And yeah, stay tuned. There's going to be a nice release coming out today, doing some things like making it much easier to import new models, or like it can search Hugging Face for you and take models off of Hugging Face straight into Lemonade with very low friction, which we're excited for. Okay. So I think that's about it. So thank you everybody who attended. Thank you so much for the questions. I hope Lemonade turns out to be a useful tool for you, and hope somebody here got inspired to go build a local AI app. And if you do, please come share it with us. We love to chat about this stuff.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining, and yep, meet us up on the Discord. Happy to have more conversations.